It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn, and when I'm with these two, the shenanigans never stop. But this is a serious moment, y'all. We're trying to keep our kids safe, and on the phone with us right now is Officer Griggs.
Some of the best weed I get from the police. So it's
some of the best weed he gets.
Hey, Officer Griggs, are you feeling some kind of way because of the looks and people think that you might be a police officer? Do you feel a little like, whew, it's because it's rough out here right now?
I don't show my badge until I'm going through a roadblock. I ain't let nobody know I'm the police. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. I ain't. Look, there used to be a time when you would go in a restaurant and you show it, act like you wasn't trying to show it, and you show it so you could get some free food. Not now. No. The police ain't got a good name right now, so nah, this ain't a good time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I saw a video with a police officer. She was crying because she was in the drive-through line waiting for a food that she ordered over her phone. She wanted, I think, an English muffin and a coffee. And that was it. So she waited and she waited and she waited until they finally came out and just gave her coffee. And she said she ordered more than that. Here she is explaining her experience.
And they asked me to pull up because my food's not ready. It's an English muffin meal with a hash brown and coffee. And, I mean, I hadn't eaten since probably about, I've been up for a very long time, but I haven't eaten in a while, so I was kind of hungry. And I'm still waiting. And they asked me to pull up. So I pull up forward, and a girl comes out with my coffee, and just the coffee. And she hands it to me, and I have my window down. And that's all she hands me is the coffee. So I told her, I said, don't bother with the food because right now I'm too nervous to take it. It doesn't matter how many hours I've been up. It doesn't matter what I've done for anyone. Right now I'm too nervous to take a meal from McDonald's because I can't see it being made. I don't know what's going on with people nowadays, but please, just give us a break. Please just give us a break. I don't know how much more I can take. I've been in this for 15 years, and I've never, ever had such anxiety about waiting for McDonald's drive-thru food. So just have a heart, and if you see an officer, just tell them thank you. Because I don't hear thank you enough anymore.
It's unfortunate that she doesn't hear thank you enough. But people don't know the good cops from the bad cops, and that's the problem.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know what? Let me tell you something. The other day, I'll share a story with you guys.
I can already tell this is going to be good, George. So hold on. 10 after the hour, we're coming back with George Wilborn's story. He's going to share. And Officer Griggs, we're talking about the kids in Clayton County, what happened to them, and how we going to keep them safe. Don't move. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. We're talking to Officer Griggs right now. We're just sharing a story about an officer who felt she was mistreated at a McDonald's because they didn't give her her order. They just did it wrong. And she gets this so much, and she just wants people to say thank you. But what she needs to understand is that people can't decipher good cops from bad cops. And that's just unfortunate. Now, George, you were just about to share a story with us.
The other day, I was in the grocery store with my family. And if those of you all, most of you all don't know, but my son Mason, he's almost 6. He's very outspoken. He's a very kind young man. He speaks very well, and he likes talking to adults. So we had to try to keep that, close to the vest. But he went up to an officer, a female officer, when we was in the grocery store the day before yesterday, and he said, officer, there's some bad officers out here.
Wow.
And he said, but I know you're not one of them.
Mm.
He's 5.
He's 5 years old. And the officer looked at him and she said, no, I'm not one of them. I'm one of the good ones. And yes, I do know that there are bad officers out here. The police officer almost had tears in her eyes. And you could see the effect of my 5-year-old son saying that and understanding that we've had to have conversations already with a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
That it brought the lady to tears.
A child.
So that's just the impact of what's going on, I believe, right now when it comes to law enforcement and when it comes to our engagement with our children about what's going on.
That's amazing that happened, but it needs to happen more often because a lot of times you do have good officers out there, but these good officers are totally afraid to go against the bad officers. You got so many of them because the code is the code blue. And you might have a situation where even though he's a bad officer, this is the guy that's got to cover your back in one situation.
Right.
You know? And so it's real touchy, man.
Yeah. And there have been so many stories about police brutality. Even if a police officer at this point does something within the law, almost every time they do something, it's considered to everyone else against the law, or it can be potentially brutal. We all know about the story, if you guys don't, about an officer in Clayton County. It's in Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta, correct?
It is.
Correct.
It's on the outside of Georgia, south of Atlanta. And I saw that video of the young kids that were walking and the police officer with the gun drawn. And then you could hear grown women and men screaming at the officer, please put the gun down, don't shoot.
Yeah, the terror in those voices of the adults, because they knew that any second, Sasha, one of or several of those young boys could have been killed on the spot right before their eyes. They know that's no longer a myth. We understand the reality of that. That's very frightening as parents out here and as grown-ups watching this happen every day.
Take a listen to this.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot, sir! Please, sir! Please! Please, sir! Please! They can't! Not no tape! Please don't shoot! He got a gun. That don't make no sense.
Them children didn't move.
All right, so we've seen the video, and Officer Griggs, there's more to the story.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot more to the story that goes with this. Let me explain to you what happened. These young people were out doing as young people do, conjugating at a store, and one of them had a play BB gun. And he was doing what you call playing with the BB gun. The person that owned the store made a call to 911. Arthur was dispatched to the area, and then that's when people started recording when the officer came up.
Right. So we didn't see what happened before.
Well, if you take a look, Clayton County Police has provided the entire video from the beginning to end. But what people are seeing is the video that the parents provided, not the entire video. Clayton County Police almost immediately provided the video. They had no transparency at all. They provided the video.
They recovered the BB gun as well?
Yeah, the kids admitted that they did have the BB gun. They threw it in the bushes. When you hear all of that, the parents out there making all that noise, take a look at the kids. The kids weren't that upset. If you look at that and let me say this. With all due respect to the mothers and the parents out there, I do understand with everything that's going on, how come they were upset at the beginning just to see young children with a gun pulled on them. But if you look at that video closely, that officer was very well trained.
But what made him so well trained? Because more officers need to take a page out of his notebook. And I want you to talk about that when we come back in 10 minutes. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. We're talking to Officer Bruce Griggs. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. We're talking to Officer Bruce Griggs of Operation Correct Start, and we're talking about a video that went viral from Clayton County, Georgia, near Atlanta, where an officer had a gun pulled out on 5 kids. People were disturbed by this.
I do understand with everything that's going on, how come they were upset at the beginning just to see young children with a gun pulled on them. But if you look at that video closely, that officer was very well trained. Not only was he de-escalating verbally, he did not continually point that gun directly at those kids. He held them at bay, but he was talking to them respectfully with authority, and he explained everything to them step by step. Now, with all of these things that are going on in the world today, somebody's got to take the time out and talk to these young boys, because if that had been another shaded cop in another neighborhood, they would have been dead.
Officer Griggs, you said they admitted to the BB gun, but was the BB gun on them, or did you find it later?
They threw it in the bushes, he said.
They threw it in the bushes. Wow. They threw it in the bushes. They knew when they took it to the store, they knew they're kids. But you can't be kids like that in today's society when it comes to guns.
You can't.
We've already had young people get killed being kids playing with BB guns.
BB guns, absolutely.
Yeah. You know, that's what I used to do.
An officer doesn't know if that's a real gun or not.
Neither does the store owner who called. So when that store owner called in, he called in his voice. He really thought that they had a gun outside.
Of course.
So that was
neither would we know if they came up behind us and said, "Give me your wallet or your purse, lady." Neither would we know.
That's right.
Right. So stick around. We're going to continue talking to Officer Griggs about this story that happened in Clayton County. 5 teenagers had a gun pulled out on them by police officers. Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn, and we're talking to Officer Griggs, and we're talking about a story that happened in Clayton County, Georgia, suburb of Atlanta, of 5 young men who had a gun pulled out on them by police officers. And right now in this times, it's scary when you're hearing about the deaths recently of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and of course, Rashad Brooks. And now here we go again. Now, Officer Griggs, Sasha and George, you know, this really is reminiscent of the story of Tamir Rice.
Right.
Those kids could have had the same fate. Tamir was, what was he, 13 to 14 years old when he had a BB gun. Someone called 911 and immediately, without hesitation, from what I saw in the video, they shot and killed Tamir.
That's right. And it could have, fortunately, here in Clayton County, you know, the officer that was there dealing with these kids, it seemed that his only interest was determining the whether it was valid about the complaint. He wanted to find out did they have a gun. Once he recognized that these kids did not have a gun, everything changed. But that's what he was there, is to find out if they had a gun, see if he could bring this to a successful end. That's what we've got to do. That's what I want to make clear. We've got to work with our young people and some of our adults and teach them how to have a positive interaction with the police so you can get home alive and free. Those parents that were out there screaming, that was obstruction. I'm just telling you, I understand, but they could have been charged.
Wait, it's obstruction to say put the gun down, don't shoot them? How is that obstruction?
If you're within an area and those police are out there doing what they're doing, dealing with those kids, and that officer tells you to back up, and what was happening was initially there was one officer and the crowd started to gather around. Once they started to gather around and did not allow him to do what he was trying to do, all he was trying to do is put those kids on the ground to make sure that they did not have a weapon. The general public didn't understand that. All they could see.
I understand what you're saying.
All mom can see on the corner is you got a cop with a gun on some kids, and cops been killing black kids every day on TV.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
So I understand the mothers being upset, but we've got to teach both sides. Those moms could have got, if those moms could have got them kids killed.
Well, I mean, the BB gun is a problem. And like you said, we're going to have to talk to our kids. We're going to have to sit down. We need to go through their rooms and their closets, under their beds, see what they have, and really explain that, like you said, this would have been the last day of your life, because a BB gun is a gun. They don't know the difference, and pow, you're gone. So, I mean, we got to put the right information on, and this is the whole story. So
but Sasha, not only that, we've got to teach our kids, if you get stopped by the police, don't run. They shoot us in the back.
Yeah.
You can't run. No, we can't.
And when we don't run, they still killing us. Okay.
So, Officer Griggs, you've worked with kids for decades through Operation Correct Start. When we come back, parents are asking, what do we need to do to make sure our children are coming back home after they go out? We're going to talk about that when we get back. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. All right, we're talking to Officer Griggs about the 5 boys that had the gun pointed at them in Clayton County, Georgia, suburb of Atlanta. And Sasha, a question that mothers always want to know. Baby, when you coming back home?
That's right. When they leave, we got to go through this whole thing about what you need to do and what you don't need to do when you're pulled over by a police officer or even walking. So, Officer Griggs, other than that we preach every single day of our lives, what else is it that we have to do?
Well, there needs to be something done when it comes to police. Okay.
Right.
The police department needs to be revamped, torn down, and built back up again. There's no way that you can have police with these racist attitudes working not only as ground floor officers, but working in upper management and leadership capacities. You don't become a racist police. You're a racist person. You were a
That's
racist
right.
before you became a police. So some kind of way we've got to revamp the entire system, but we've also got to work with the human beings of this world and change that mindset. These guys that are dirty with the badge, they were dirty before they got the badge.
Mm-hmm. I just want to share a quick note on what he's saying. I never shared this with you guys. When I was 16 years old on the south side of Chicago, I was dating a girl who was 20 years old, a little older than me. I was going through Foster Park, coming home late one night. Foster Park is in Inglewood. I lived one community over in the Gresham area. Very, very tough neighborhood in Chicago. My girlfriend's older sister gave me her gun because I was walking home late and I had to walk through Foster Park, which is a big gang area. There was a squad car, unmarked squad car, saw me going through the park. I saw the officers. I ran down a street and down a side street, thinking I had avoided them. The officers came up about 30 seconds later, a minute later, boom, out of nowhere. 3 white officers. They got out. I didn't get a chance to throw the gun away or anything. They got out. They patted me down. They saw the gun. They gave me the gun. They said, look, we're going to take you to jail or you can leave. He gave me the gun back. And he said, run through the park. And if you make it out, you can get away.
Wow.
He gave me the gun back, Sasha.
Wow.
Bullets and everything, and said, run back through the park. And if you make it, we're going to let you get away.
Wow.
I handed the officer the gun back because I realized what he meant.
You got a gun in your hand with bullets, and if you run, I'm going to shoot you.
I gave the gun back to the officers. They took me to jail as a juvenile. I had a juvenile record from him. My mom came, got me what he's talking about is serious. And this was many, many years ago, obviously, but it's a culture.
It's a culture.
Policemen that have been doing this. And those same officers could very well be lieutenants, sergeants, captains by now.
Right.
They're at the top now.
That's a story that could have ended in tragedy. So we need to talk to the parents on how they need to keep their kids safe. Officer Griggs, when we come back, I want you to share that information with us. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn, and it is very clear that black children, black people, have a target on their backs. I don't care what anyone has to say, not trying to debate at all. It is what it is. When our kids go out, we always wonder if they're going to come back home.
Officer Griggs, I'm telling you, I don't want to have this conversation anymore with my boys. And I'm sure that Rick and George don't want to have this conversation anymore. But is there anything else you can leave us with to make sure we save these young black boys?
What parents need to do is they need to sit down and talk to these kids about what to do if you're stopped on the street. They need to go through it step by step. You don't have to testify against yourself, but you do have to conduct yourself in a manner where you won't be getting that cop to pull out a gun. The cop's going to put his hands on you and search you if he has a reasonable suspicion. Just like these kids, they thought they had a gun. Well, he had a reasonable suspicion. You can't put yourself in that position. If you're in a car, make sure that cops can see your hands. Remember, cops make moves off of hands. Hand movement will get you killed. If you're in your car, never, ever, never, ever get out of your car when you're stopped by the police until they give you permission to get out of your car. Those are just few of the things that we need to be discussing with our kids, but we need to be having some type of forums in each of these communities where police are actively meeting with the kids and the community, teaching them step by step. They should be going to these communities doing this every week.
That is Officer Griggs. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to have you on again because we know this craziness is not going to stop anytime soon.
Thank you, brother.
Officer Griggs, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me at Bruce W. Griggs, or you can find me at OCS Street Academy on the Instagram.
And on Facebook at Operation Correct Stuff.
That's right.
At that Dunkin' Donuts over there on 47 the Stony Island.
George, I'm going to get you, boy.